In this video, I'll start with a quote. This is a quote by Carl Sagan. He was an astrophysicist and scientist, and he wrote several books. And in one of those books, he spoke about deception and how it affects the human population. Now, he was not a sociologist, nor an anthropologist, nor a public administrator. What he said over here, or actually what he wrote down here, is quite powerful. Let me read it to you. You can also read it on the screen. One of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge even ourselves we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. And he called his book The Demon-Haunted World. This individual knew what he was talking about. And even though he was not a sociologist, I mentioned before, his book was about society, about how people tend to fall for scams over and over again. If you want to read the book, you can do it. That's up to you. But this video is not about the book of Carl Sagan. This video is about what he said here. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you'll almost never get it back. Because what he said there is true. Sometimes worldly people say things that are true. Just because they're not born again doesn't mean they can't say valuable stuff. Now, why is it that once you believe a charlatan that you never likely are to recover from deception? Because it goes like this. A charlatan provokes your confidence. A charlatan himself, you also have female charlatans. I'm going to use the male pronoun now because it's easier for me. A charlatan will pretend to doubt his own story. And why is he doing this? Because he wants you to invest in the story. And once you are invested in the story, there's no turning back. It is as if you're about to board a ship and you throw away all your baggage, or your luggage, I mean, and you enter the ship and the ship leaves the harbor. Are you going to get your luggage back? Let's say it's the 19th century or earlier. You had sail ships back then. You had no Wi-Fi, no electronic tracking systems. So if in that time period you boarded a ship and you dropped your luggage at the harbor and the ship is on the ocean already, likely you will never get your luggage back. You know why? Because on the middle of the ocean, the ship can't turn around just like that. So you first have to cross the ocean. Once you cross the ocean, now you need to have a ship back. So that will be more than 2 or 3 months further. And then after 2 or 3 months, you arrive at the harbor telling that 3 months ago you left your luggage there. Who will remember that luggage after 3 months at a port where so many people come and go? So if you are about to board a ship and you drop your luggage, you likely will never get it back. Ever. That's the effect of investing in a story you haven't examined. Now, this is something we often do. Often, when we hear a subject, we already have an attitude towards that subject. Now, sometimes those attitudes are justified. For example, when it comes to witchcraft or black magic or whatever, we often have aversion towards them, and that's good, because those things are dangerous stuff. But when it comes to things as finances, or it comes to healing or miracles, we tend to have preconditioned attitudes that are put in us by society. So when we hear those subjects, we already know what we're talking about. know. The only thing we know is the attitude we've been conditioned into. So we know all about the attitude we've been conditioned into concerning that subject. But just because we know all about the attitude society gave us about the subject, it doesn't mean that we know everything about the subject. But a lot of folks, they just won't admit that they've been conditioned by society. Because to admit you've been conditioned means that now you have to examine whether what you were conditioned into was right or not. And a lot of people don't want to go there. So it goes like this. A charlatan knows that people don't want to self-reflect. So a charlatan comes with a story that appears real, but when you examine the story carefully, the story doesn't add up. So the charlatan tells you the story. For example, a charlatan may tell you, hey, I've opened this new business. It goes very well. Here are my employees. They're earning good money and I really want new investors. And he shows you some receipt from some business transactions. You may see a website. Then you may even see an office that you visited. So everything appears well. He's even registered at the Chamber of Commerce. So it all appears good. But here's the thing about the story. He needs new investors. If your company is already successful, why do you need new investors? If you're a new company or you're a starter, then I understand that you want investors. But why do you need investors if you're already running? So the charlatan comes with a story to you. He shows you facts and tells you he needs new investors. And that's where you come in. But a charlatan says, well, I've been looking for investors for a long time, but a lot of people are skeptical, this and that. And what happens? You have been put on a pedestal as the new investor that he needs. So you feel relevant. And then he says, well, a lot of people are skeptical about this story. But then you think, oh, hold on a minute. You need new investors. I see you have a business. So let me check where you need investment in. You become interested. And then he tells you, well, we're about to purchase a new building and we need some financiers, so people that are willing to support it because then we can get a loan. He tells you a whole story and it sounds believable. So you think, why not? And you put 20,000 euros in a deposit as a loan to his company to help him in getting this finance from the bank. Because he needs investors for the bank to grant him the full loan. You do it. And he tells you that within 3 or 4 months, you will get your money back with some interest after you spoke to the other investors. Now, so you wait 3 or 4 months, then you call. There's no one on the line. You go to the office. The office is gone. And then you begin to look for him. And you find out he has another website with another company that also needs investors. So after you get them on the phone, he tells you, yeah, I have to change my name, do some lawsuit, this and that. So you believe it, think, okay. They ask him, where's the money or where's the interest? He says, well, you will get them in 10 days. It is to be transferred from a Swiss bank account. And you get it right. After 10 days, you don't get anything. What's going on here? From the start, when he told you the story that he has a business that's running, but he needs new investors, from that point on, you should have thought, hold on a minute, why do you need investors if you're already running? If it's already successful, you don't need any investors. That was a red flag he gave to you. Because charlatans will always give you a red flag when they're about to scam you. A charlatan is different from a common scam artist, because a common scam artist does his very best to make his story believable. A charlatan doesn't do his best to be convincing to you. The charlatan tricks you into feeling important, and because you feel important, you feel validated, and because you feel validated, you become more open to what he has to say. And he will show some human weakness, and because he shows human weakness, you feel more comfortable because not only are you validated, but you also see this individual trust me. He is willing to risk trusting me with something. So now you feel more important. Now you feel more special. And it's this confidence trick that draws you in. That's what a charlatan does. And when he shows human weakness, he's actually exposing that the story isn't true. He will mention 1 or 2 facts that don't belong in the story just to see whether you capture it or not. When the charlatan sees that you capture it, he will shut down the conversation and he will go, because he knows that there's no use to try to scam you here. But the moment he notices that you don't capture it, he knows he got you. So it's in the first conversation that you need to be alert to what's being said to you. Because at a later stage, you can get out of the scam, but you have to process a lot. And worldlings don't like processing things, so they're likely to be stuck in a scam for a very long time, even after it has been obvious that they've been scammed. Remember what I've said, a common scam artist does his very best to convince you. And you can feel that he's doing his best to convince you. But a charlatan doesn't do his best to convince you. A charlatan tricks you into trusting him. And once you're tricked into trusting him, it's over. He got you. That's the big difference. And a charlatan will always give you a hint from the very beginning that what he's telling you is BS. This is not true. And for the black magic to work, there are also female charlatans. They use witchcraft because witchcraft is feminine. Black magic is masculine. Let me say the charlatan has to be secure that the spell will work. And the spell will only work if you are informed that it's a scam. With a charlatan, the spell is different than with a common scam artist. Because with a charlatan, it's about getting your consent for them to rob you. Now, a charlatan is not going to tell you, hey, I want to plunder your bank account and all your assets, so please allow me to do it. Charlatan cannot do that. So the charlatan has to trick you into agreeing with them robbing you. That's why when they come with this story to ask for your investment, they have to mention 1 or 2 things that don't end up, so that you can know that, okay, this doesn't add up. Once you don't capture this and you continue, your own investment in the story will be used against you. And that investment in that story can also be used to blackmail you. And that is what a charlatan is looking for something to blackmail you with. So that's why you need to pay attention to contracts also. When you receive a contract, read it. I know it's something a lot of people don't do, especially when a contract is electronic. I'm telling you to read it. If you encounter any paragraph in that contract that contains very vague words or very vague sentences, then that is the vague part of the contract that will be used against you in case you make plain onto the other party you're going too far. That's why it's important to read before you agree with something. And apart from contracts, just learn to listen to what people are saying. Shut your mouth for your own good so that you can listen to what someone is saying. I don't tell you to shut your mouth because I want to control you. I'm telling you to shut your mouth because it's important for you to learn to listen with full attention. When someone's a charlatan, he or she will reveal it. Because a charlatan has to reveal that it's a hoax, or else the blackmail will not work. Because it's the blackmail that the charlatan is looking for. A common scam artist can make use of a paranormal charm, but he is just there to get whatever they want and to get away with. It's easier to see through a common scam artist than to see through a charlatan. That's why learn to listen to what someone is saying. Don't come with conclusions too quickly. And once you realize that something doesn't add up, politely end the conversation and walk away. Nobody can force you nor press you to make up your mind about an agreement. You have the right to consider all possible options and what's in your best interest. That's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.